With political turmoil unraveling in South Sudan, what is the aim of the People's Coalition for Civil Action? And with its signatories either detained or in hiding, what is next for the coalition? Join us as we discuss this and more only on Beyond the Headlines. Our guest today is Raja Mohandes, who is the Executive Director and co-founder of the Organization for Responsive Governance based in Juba, South Sudan. He is a signatory to the Revitalized Agreement on the Resolution of the Conflict in the Republic of South Sudan and represents civil society in the reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, an oversight mechanism for the peace agreement. He's also a signatory to the People's Coalition for Civil Action. Thank you for joining me here on the program, Mr. Mohandes.
You're welcome. I'm happy to join you on this program.
What led to the formation of the People's Coalition for Civil Action, and what is its main objective?
Okay, thank you very much. The People's Coalition for Civil Action was established as a group of active citizens and active and concerned citizens interested to ensure that the situation in the country changes, and particularly this was established because we have persistently seen leadership failure and lack of strategic vision in the country. We have witnessed state failure, that our country, a few years after independence, has become a completely failed state, that democracy and decentralized system of governance provided for in our constitution got abandoned, that justice and fundamental freedoms of the people have been denied, that the people's sovereign power that has been enshrined in the constitution has also been usurped and denied. Civil rights of the citizens have been restricted. The country is running without public services for the citizens. Services reach the citizens mainly through NGOs, and the government doesn't seem to care. Even at the national capital in Juba, getting water alone, clean drinking water, is very difficult for the ordinary citizens. The corruption in the country is terrible, and we are rated as the most corrupt country in the region. We have challenges with peace and socioeconomic development. This is not consolidated at all. The wealth of the country is disappearing in thin air and just in the pockets of a few elites in Juba, leaving the rest of the country impoverished, and our international relations has failed to the extent that now we have arms embargo on the country and sanctions on individuals who are senior government officials. And by the 10th anniversary of our independence, we realized that there was no clarity on the way forward. And so giving us the picture that the next 10 years may also be another wasted decade, just like the first decade of the independence of our country. And because of this, we felt as citizens that we can no longer endure such situation in a country that people sacrificed so much to create as an independent state. And in this case, we have a responsibility and a constitutional right as citizens to challenge this untenable status quo and demand that the situation in the country must change so that our citizens are able to benefit from this country, and the millions of people who have been displaced out of their homes and out of the country should have the right and opportunity to get back home and settle. And so for this reason, the People's Coalition for Civil Action has been established. And the purpose of the coalition is to mobilize the people of South Sudan to aspire for a nation that is united to build a peaceful, free, just, equitable, and prosperous democratic society. A nation that is at peace within and with its neighbors. The country that we aspired for by the time we voted for independence.
What is the composition of the membership of the People's Coalition for Civil Action? Is it composed of intellectuals, opposition groups, political parties, intellectuals? What is its composition?
This is a mass movement, coalition of citizens. We have been engaging among ourselves as citizens on this for a very long time. And so the membership consists of individuals, interested concerned citizens who come from different sectors of the society, from the civil society, people from academia, and different professional groups. On the declaration, only 4 of us signed. And this was technical because we do not want to bring the names and picture of the rest of the members to light for obvious reasons, that the state doesn't want citizens to speak out and engage with the state on issues affecting their lives. And if they do so, they risk being arrested and troubled. And for that reason, only 4 of us signed the declaration to authenticate it on behalf of the rest of the members. But the membership of the coalition is very vast across the country and within government and security sector institutions. So it is very broad, but of course I will not go into details to reveal.
So who are the 4 members that signed it?
Well, the 4 members that signed this include Abraham Awolich, who has been who signed on behalf of think tanks and academia. We have Honorable Kwel Aguer Kwel, who signed on behalf of South Sudan, Sudanese intellectuals, and he was a former governor of Northern Bahr el Ghazal state in Awil. And then we have a representative, a member who signed on behalf of the diaspora community. That is Comrade Edward Achek. And I also signed on behalf of civil society. So there are 4 of us who appended signatures on this for purposes of authenticating the document, but obviously the membership is huge.
Mm-hmm. Now, since South Sudan gained independence in 2011, it experienced 2 years of relative peace, which ended in 2013. Since then, numerous agreements and ceasefires have been signed. In your opinion, what pressing factors do you believe are brewing underneath the surface within the country, which in a matter of time will implode and lead to another wave of conflict? Apart from what you've just addressed.
Okay, well, to address this or to respond appropriately to this question, one has to go back to where we came from as a country. South Sudan is a product of a long and heroic liberation struggle. And there were clear principles for which the people of South Sudan sacrificed immensely to create the country as an independent state. And those principles have been completely abandoned. The people of South Sudan believed that they were not being treated well in Sudan at the time. They also believed that they were being marginalized and development was being denied to them, and they had no right to participate equally in the governance of Sudan at the time. And for all these reasons, they felt that there was need to demand for changes in the country. And if those changes were not effected, then the option of an independent state was what they would opt for. So we have created the independent state as people of South Sudan, and we have just brought in all the bad things that we fought against into this independent state. And we are aware that the way Sudan was governed kept that country for decades, almost half a century of conflict. And it is the same thing that we have now adopted and brought to South Sudan. So the violence and conflicts in South Sudan do not come as a surprise. It just comes as a result of the fact that we have decided to replicate what we fought against. And for that reason, there is no way we may fix this country unless we go back to the basics and the purpose for which South Sudan was made an independent state.
Now, recently, as you stated, Governor Kwel Aguer Kwal, former caretaker governor of Northern Bahr el Ghazal, was placed under detention by the National Security Service. And as of now, Abraham Awolish, the managing director of the Sud Institute, and you are in hiding. What transpired that led to this situation?
Well, you know, the concerns that we raised in the declaration have been welcomed so much by citizens of South Sudan, both within and also outside the country. We expected that the state would take this serious as the voice of the people and actually make attempts to respond to this positively. But because the state is tilted towards suppressing the voices of the people, they did not see this as a positive way to engage with the state. Instead, they see this as a criminal case and decided to pursue us and to arrest us. And for that reason, they managed to arrest the Honorable Governor, who did not take cover since the declaration was signed. He decided to remain in the open, and he was taken and detained by the state, which is so unfortunate that when people choose to speak to the state in a peaceful way to demand that the situation in the country should change, they are arrested. We have seen the country in violence all this time. And in the declaration, we stated very clearly that we should find peaceful means to address the situation in the country. Now, it is this peaceful means that the state is also fighting, and in that case, arresting the Honorable Governor and also pursuing myself and my colleague Awolish. Now, Awolish and I are not afraid to submit ourselves to the state for arrest as such. However, we have a responsibility to support the coalition, to mobilize the people, to demand that the situation in the country must change. And for that reason, we have kept ourselves in locations where we feel that the state may not immediately reach us, and that gives us time to continue to mobilize and engage with the South Sudanese populations, both within the country and also abroad. And we continue to do this with the hope that the people will be mobilized enough to demand that they will not endure another 10 years of crisis and suffering in the country, that the South Sudanese people will sit down and decide a better transitional arrangement that takes this country out of this crisis and into democratic elections, which will be credible and will help to restore peace and stability in the country.
Did you contact any officials within the government or even inform national security as to the initiative that you were undertaking?
Well, we engaged with different individuals. We did not engage with the state institutions because we are fully aware that the state would never accept to engage in discussions with the citizens. We have called for dialogue and discussions with different state agencies for quite a while, and no one seems to pay attention to this because they knew that the issues we would raise would actually be issues that touch on the lives and of the citizens that attempt to improve the situation in the country. And it is their deliberate action and conscious acts that keep the state in this situation, and they don't seem to be prepared to change this untenable status quo. And for that reason, they have not been willing to dialogue with people. We are aware that they are happy to dialogue with the international community, and we are reliably informed there are arrangements to actually take some of these letters to Khartoum, because there is an assumption in the region that they they do not adequately understand what to do with the country at the moment, and that they do not have enough trust and confidence among themselves. So they will be taken out to be helped by their peers in the region to understand South Sudan and understand the issues and understand that it is necessary for them to talk to one another, just similar to what was done to them when they went to Rome for a retreat 2 years ago. Now, we believe that the issues of South Sudan are very clear to all of us. We know, and our people in the villages understand those issues. And if our leaders want to discuss the issues of South Sudan, they should go to these places where there are conflicts and discuss these issues with the people and understand what the people want. But of course, because the state is not willing to really engage with the people, we felt that it was not necessary to inform them, but only to speak out and raise this concern. So we held a press conference in Juba and released this declaration.
Now, on Friday, July 30th, an invitation to join your coalition was issued to the public. The statement read as follows: fellow citizens, Article 2 of our Transitional Constitution 2011, as amended, gives sovereign power to the people of South Sudan. We therefore have the power to hold the government and all state institutions accountable. Article 4 of our Constitution also gives power to the citizens of South Sudan to protect the Constitution and to stand in defense of democracy. Article 25 of our Constitution gives us a right to freely assemble and associate, and we are also endowed with the freedom of expression and press under Article 24 of our Constitution. Considering these rights, fellow citizens, the People's Coalition of Civil Action has the honor of inviting you to join the coalition to express our disappointments with the performance of the government and the deplorable state of affairs in our country over the last 10 years, and to collectively outline our aspirations for the next 10 years. Now, based on the statement, and due to the nature of security in the country, how can citizens be expected to take on this action itself and join your coalition?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, we're spending this time to remind the security agencies of their constitutional mandate to protect the people of South Sudan, to defend the Constitution, and the Constitution provides the right to assemble for the people of South Sudan, the right to demonstrate. And so, in defense of these rights and the Constitution, the security forces have an obligation to respect the Constitution and the people. And for that reason, we are informing the public that they will walk out to make their voices heard, to raise their demands and complain to the government. And should they feel threatened by anyone or any sector of the security agencies, they should seek shelter or safety at the security institutions. They should go to the police for safety. They should go to the national security for safety. And we believe that these security agencies will understand that the people are not making these demands against the security sector. They are not making these demands against those in uniform. They are actually speaking for those in uniform, that their salaries should be paid reasonably and in time, that they should have conducive working environment, and that they should not be dying among themselves, killing themselves for no good reason. And as they do this, those elites who benefit from such violence continue to loot the country. That's the citizens will be speaking for them. And so we will ensure that citizens come out and that the security forces understand their role and mandate. And we are engaging with them. And we know that very many of them actually sympathize with the situation and understand what the coalition is talking about.
In a press statement issued on Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021, Dr. Matur Gorjok Gak, the chairman of the National People's Movement, NPM, stated the following: the leadership of the National People's Movement would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the People's Coalition for Civil Action, PCCA, for their courageous and bold decision to stand up for the people of South Sudan. We stand with you and provide our unwavering support to you and the people of South Sudan who have suffered enough. Now, based on these remarks, has the People's Coalition for Civil Action that you're signatory to establish contact with opposition groups within the country? If so, what do you hope to accomplish?
Thank you very much. Well, the People's Coalition for Civil Action has not established any contact with any opposition group. We simply mentioned in the documents that we have so far released, indicating that there is need for peaceful means to resolve the conflict. We have extended invitation to all political forces in the country. Those political forces or parties in the peace agreement, and those that are not in the peace agreement, particularly those who are still negotiating through the Rome process, the South Sudan Opposition Alliance, their different groups. We have also extended invitation to those who are outside, the splinter groups of the IO, and we have called all these political forces to listen to the voice of the People's Coalition and to unite and demand that we have an arrangement that helps to transform the situation in the country. And so we have been seeing this kind of statements coming, and it is giving us the impression that many South Sudanese, including those in opposition, see the sense in the declaration, and that they recognize that the declaration articulates clearly the challenges in the country and the vision for the country. And we feel that all of these groups should actually abandon violence and decide to sit down as South Sudanese to discuss and agree on how our country moves forward. That would be our priority. And this call goes to all political forces, those in the government and even those who are not in the government, those who are still in opposition, that there is no reason for us to fight ourselves as people, and therefore let's sit down and find a way to address the challenges and have a transition that takes our country to elections and to stability.
Mm-hmm. Now, has a reason been provided for the arrest of Governor Kwal Aguirre Kwel? And also, have you been in contact with any foreign bodies from the embassies or governments?
Well, we have not received any formal or public statement from the authorities for reasons why the governor was arrested, but we are very much aware that the arrest is associated with his signing of the people's of the declaration. And we have also noted that he was questioned to explain his role in the coalition. And so the arrest is purely associated with the coalition. With regards to the reaching out to foreign powers, we have not had any formal communication to the international community or the regional bodies or IGAD that supports the peace implementation. We have at this point spoken only to the people of South Sudan to try to let them understand that there is no way we will continue with the next 10 years crisis, just like we had the past decade of our independence. So our message was generated locally and directed to the people of South Sudan. However, we will in due course make our position clear to the international community to understand that the people of South Sudan, we are calling on the people of South Sudan to take charge of the affairs of the country and agree by consensus on how the country moves forward. We strongly believe that the international community made attempts to support the cause of peace in our country. IGAD has been at the forefront of this, the African Union, the United Nations and other sectors of the international community. However, we believe that all these efforts they have put in place have been undermined by the establishment we have in the country, the political establishment. And we believe that there is going to be nothing hopeful for South Sudan if we continue with this kind of an arrangement. And at this point, we want the people to pass a verdict on how the country moves forward.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rajab, for taking the time to shed light on what is happening with the People's Coalition for Civil Action within the country. Thank you for joining me here on Beyond the Headlines.
You're welcome.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page at Sunrise Media.